John. Wraith King probably going to come out for Boom Esports. I agree. I think Wraith King's probably an easy pick here for Jackie to make. I don't see anything else that's great. Luna's okay, sort of, but I think the Wraith King is probably the option they want to go down. It's very awkward to fight into the Wraith King as well for T1 because you want to lock him down, you want to commit the Roar, but then he's got that second life you've got to deal with. So you've got some great initial burst, but then you don't have a way of dealing with the second life, which I think may be problematic for T1. And that's assuming T1 don't take Wraith King themselves right now. But then you'd have 5 strength heroes, so it's probably not recommended. So you might run into even more problems.
I was about to ask that. I was like, oh, Wraith King, you know, it's not in the pool. Maybe T1 could pick it up, though. But then, yeah, it's that issue that you said is like, it's not only strength, but it's another melee into Timber. And I think Boom have just set themselves up so well with that Timber pick to sort of make T1 really think about what they want as the last pick, as it is going to be that TA, John.
Yep, they close out with the TA. No easy ways to multiple fraction. I guess Chakram's probably your best bet. Shadow Strike can slowly tick away. You do have decent hold in the Bane, so I think when it comes down to it, you can pin that TA down. With finding the angle here for Scam is going to be difficult. You could still run that Wraith King here for Boom. I would have said that maybe a Life Stealer would have worked, but I don't think the matchup against TA is all too nice. And you go with a Troll instead. I think that's a lot better. Just great damage early on, great scaling, really early spikes as we saw Jackie kind of build up into a fast diffusal. You can kind of shift gears here, go for a Maelstrom instead. And you have the tempo on Boom. For T1, it's kind of similar to maybe their Game 1 draft with the PA. I think the TA is going to take its time to farm up. You do have better supports here and better cores to play aggressive to kind of play that 4 Protect 1. I think that should give them an angle to find opening, but I still feel like Boom's got a pretty early lineup here as well, especially with Jackie's Troll. It just comes online a lot faster than the TA.
You look at FBZ, Johnny, he looks like he can't wait. He's cracking his knuckles, breathing really deeply. Looks like he just can't wait to get into this game number 3. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like the Troll. I agree with John. I like the TA as well from T1. I'm honestly kind of leaning towards T1, apart from the Timberverse, the strength matchup, which could be problematic. But I think T1's got a great draft this time around.
Well, you liked T1's draft in game number 1, so we'll see if it is going to pay off in game number 3. I did have a question, and I got absolutely distracted. I'm not even going to lie about it. So I'm just going to ask my normal question. That is, how long do you think this game is going to go for, Mike?
Oh, I'll give it 35 minutes. 35 minutes it'll last.
Okay, I like it. And what about you, John? Quickly, how long do you think it'll be?
I'll go 5 minutes last. 30 minutes for me. I think it could go either way in that point. So pretty fast game for either side if they do snowball.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to a fast, but hopefully close game as we are heading into game number 3. If Boom are able to win out this game, then they are going to be the king of C. They are going to be taking the grand finals, but time will only tell us. I'm going to head on out of here and leave both of you to the game number 3.
Well, thank you very much, Nat. We do get into a game number 3 between T1 and Boom Esports set to get underway. John, we may have predicted the time that the game's going to last, but I do hope this isn't going to be the last game of this best of 5 grand final, as so far it has been very, very one-sided, and I want a bit more excitement, Jonathan. I think people are expecting a much closer matchup between these two.
Yeah, especially if you consider the upper bracket finals. I think that was a very tight series between the two. It just feels like Boom has managed to learn a lot more from that series than T1 did. I think they do make some good adjustments for this game 3. The TA pick for Gabby, having a much more active hero for Carl on that Kunkka is going to be a great response, and I think this should allow T1 to find some early aggression, but it really depends, because we said almost the same thing in game 1, where T1 had such a great draft with so much stuns. Boom still found a way. I still feel like if Boom made that game 1 draft of theirs work, this is pretty much more bog standard for Boom, and they should be able to get that done too. It's just a question of whether or not Carl can really snowball to enable Gabby to find that space to farm.
You know, the thing is as well, John, it feels like if FBZ, if he gets off to a good start, if he gets a few kills rolling, it doesn't feel like you're going to be able to stop him this game. And that's one big fear I have for T1. We talked about their 4 strength heroes in their draft. They're not going to be able to put up with that kind of Timbersaw later on if they do end up falling behind. As we might actually have a level 1 fight this time around, as both teams are currently just watching each other. Boom Esports, kind of unsure, but they are both looking to try and swipe the top rune. Jackie's going to move in. Zephyr is there along with Whitemon, and they'll get the Ignite out, but it seems like that's probably going to be it. A 2-for-2 trade on the bounties once again, so a very even kind of start to this game number 3. And while we're around, we'll talk about the mid lane, John. You've got Carl there on the Kunkka this time around, so he takes that away from Yopaj. Yopaj will go back to the Queen of Pain. We've seen this matchup many, many times, and it's not actually too favorable here for the Quap. I feel like the Kunkka does actually do a great job.
Yeah, you just out-damage the Quap. You don't expend mana for your damage as well, whereas the Quap is going to need to balance between Shadow Strike or the Scream of Pain. Yopaj does opt for the Scream of Pain to clear out the creep wave. And I think that's probably the better build. I think the best success we've seen Quap is more of a Scream of Pain build comparison to Shadow Strike. So I'm keen to see how Yopaj builds up. He is getting some good harassment, though. Level 1 for Kunkka is not great here.
Yeah, this is a lot of harassment out onto Carl, and to be fair to him, he does have a Free Fire, so he probably would have been okay, but Yopaj certainly trying to get the damage up before those levels do come up on Carl. So I suppose while we have a chance, we should have a look at the other lanes as well. Let's have a look at top lane. We do see Jackie and Tim's there with Zephyr and Cuckoo, and now they start to get aggressive. Cuckoo copying a fair bit of damage there. I suppose this is not going to be the easiest lane in the world for T1 either.
Yeah, and I like the shift out here for Boom. Having the Pangolier up top instead of the Bane gives you so much wave clear up against the Boris when you do come out, and a lot of aggression. The Control can play fast with the slowest he has on the whirling axis, so you can't actually just run up and force a trade here. It's a bit scary for T1 to look to be aggressive. So while you're seeing Tim's forcing out that TP from Zephyr, he will just go back to his tier 1, but that's buying a lot of space for Jackie. Your Troll's not under too much pressure. He is a bit behind CS, but overall I think this sets the tone of this lane quite nicely for Boom.
Yeah. There's that final lane as well. You've got FBZ and Skem against Gabby and Whitemon. I'd say Gabby should be relatively safe in this lane, at least until you have the Chakram up on FBZ. And Skem, of course, making the rotation down to the off lane instead of being in that safe lane here on the Bane. I think that is a smart decision as well for Boom, because against Whitemon's Ogre, the Bane doesn't have too tough of a time of being able to trade with him, and even for that Courier, just saving the life of the Courier for good old FBZ, does manage to get his items, and Whitemon will have to walk his way back.
Yeah, and Carl's also dropping extremely low mid. He's going to go for the TP back home. Shadow Strike's running. He TP's barely in time to get some heals off. You're already seeing a bit of the opposite of what we were seeing in that mid matchup. Yopaj is doing a lot better than the Kunkka there, Mike. Carl, 5 CS. Yopaj up at 11, so a creep wave advantage, and he's just constantly going in on the aggressive for the Shadow Strike. Carl does not have the TPX this time. He might tick out here if he's not careful.
He's going to have to eat some tangos here. Carl, no, he's going to be all right. Level 2 Shadow Strike, but it's not going to be enough damage yet. It seems like Boom really have a point to prove in this this best of 5 series here against T1. Of course, Nat mentioned it earlier, Jonathan, but you are deciding who the kings of C are right now, and Boom, 1 game away from being able to claim that title off T1, at least before Tour 2 comes around. See if they can manage to pull this off. Still first blood yet to be drawn from either side. Carl again has been getting very low on that Kunkka, and Yopaj, he's going to make the jump in. Seeing that small camp being farmed up, he wants to go for the first blood, and it looks like he's probably got it. Carl can't do anything. Yopaj able to secure first blood, and tips are out against Carl.
Oh man, that is painful, but Yopaj has been constant with the aggression, just forcing the Kunkka to have a bad time. You were talking about this earlier, Mike, but we've seen Kunkkas actually win this lane. Yopaj proving to us that Quap can actually work this lane as well. He's just going against the constraints of the Tidebringer, dodging every single use. Look at Carl, he just comes back in, cops a level 3 Shadow Strike, and already down to around half HP.
The Sep stick onto Whitemon. Oh, Skem and Whitemon playing around with each other right now as Whitemon does get the water rune there. He's going to be able to walk away and even take a bounty rune for himself. A mid lane, there is another jump in onto Carl on that Kunkka. He's in big trouble at the moment as the Shadow Strike's still ticking him down, and I don't think he can make it out. He'll try to eat a tango, and that actually might be enough. He is surviving through it. Carl is going to survive on 9 HP as now the chase is back on for Tim's this time around on the Pango. And with the Fire Blast and the Ignite, it should be more than enough to take down Tim's. And it will be. And
he gets some punishment, but that's still a lot of time Carl has to spend back home. And that's a lot of farm that Kunkka's missing out on. We talk about what T1 had to do. We expected T1 to emphasize rotations onto mid. Instead, it's Boom, who are looking to be hyper-aggressive to keep that Kunkka down. Already bring the two supports up here, so they're leaving their side lanes a bit open here, Mike, but you've got pretty independent laners. Troll can just stand back with a range axe form, and a Timbersaw is a Timbersaw, so you can just kind of let him solo. I think that's the one strength Boom has. They've got independent cores that will enable your supports to go to other lanes if need be.
Absolutely. A 1-to-1, very slight net worth lead here for Boom. Too much movement across the map yet, but it is beginning as Cuckoo. He's kind of getting grouped up here top lane. They're going to just pincer him in. Tims will sneak up from the backside. Jackie already just harassing away. Cuckoo, though, going to try and TP, but the ensnare on the first hit again from Jackie for the second time today. And Cuckoo, well, he's just going to have to go to the graveyard now.
Yep. No TP back to lane as well, Mike. So it's the walk of shame for Cuckoo to head back to that farm. And look at the movements, the wards that Boom managed to drop while rotating up. They block the camps. They get a good ward on the triangle. Zephyr's trying to build up for that TA. This is going to slow down Gabby by a big amount. No stacks to play with. No catch of farm later on.
Zephyr now being chased down on the Snapfire. Skem trying to move in for the Nightmare, but is out of range as Carl's going to have a disconnection. Hopefully that won't last too long here as T1. It feels like they're falling into the same trap we've been seeing over and over again. When Yopaj still having a great time, almost top of the CS board just behind Cuckoo. It does feel like the impact from the Quap is going to be quite high already. Carl's level 4, by the way, John, in comparison to the level 6 of Yopaj, so that you've got that problem going for you right now if you're T1. And again, with this kind of draft, I mean, FBZ's having a decent time. Gabby's going to take a bit of time to farm up on that TA. Are we seeing the same story for a third time?
Not quite. I don't think it's completely unplayable yet for T1. But now you're going to have to give some catch-up form towards a Kunkka. So he's eating in some of those large camps. He might take a stack or two if they do get built up. And Boom are in a position to just harass out mid. They've got the siege creep. They don't have the fastest push potential here, but they've got the bodies to commit. And they already force out the early fortify out. So they're just looking to take an early objective. T1's actually not coming in to stop this. Like, the siege creep's gonna last long. Yopaj has salves to tank up the tower, so they're gonna get the siege creep up for another wave.
That they are. And that should be the tier 1 tower to drop. Nothing to protect it right now from T1. Cuckoo's gonna try and bring in the dominated creep to try and ward them off a little bit. Like, Boom, not gonna stick around too long, as you do have Cuckoo now fully rotated over on that Beastmaster, even without the level 6 mark. This is something that I feel T1 don't necessarily want to be doing right now, as Skem's going to even find out Gabby in the jungle. Surely he can't get a pick off by himself, as Gabby does have Refraction. Just barely having enough mana for that. I think he only had 1 mana left over after he used it, so good times here for Gabby's. He's going to have to make his way back towards the fountain and reset for himself now. And it does feel like there's going to be a lot of pressure on Cuckoo this game to again be able to apply that pressure and buy the space for Carl and Gabby, because both of them haven't had the best laning stage.
No, they've had a really slow start. I think you are at least happy with the fact that Gabby hasn't really died, but you're a TA. You need that flash farm. The jungle is still blocked. There are still no stacks. The camps do spawn at the least, but the catch-up farm, the burst farm that the TA can get in the jungle, it's not built up. So I think all this movement is costing T1 because they're forced to respond, they're forced to check camps, they're trying to stack, it's not building up. Boom has just been on point with what they have to do in this game, in this map, to kind of prevent T1 from building up. And while all that movement comes out, Jackie has a free lane top.
That he does, and Yopaj will take another kill for himself as Whitemon does get caught by Skem. I'd like to remind you, by the way, Yopaj has still not died this grand final series, so he is, I believe, currently 22-0 in terms of when you add up all the scores. We're keeping track, John. We're making sure. See if T1 can actually get a kill on him, and I guess that might be the turning point. Just kill Yopaj once and burst that massive head of his right now, because he's just unkillable.
Yep. He's had an insane game in the series. I mean, it was a little bit more back and forth with SMG. I think they did manage to kill off Yopaj a couple of times there, but he has been rock solid in his grand finals. And I think we've got to see something from T1. I mean, we saw the Kunkka pick. I feel like, again, they could have just committed some early rotations out. Instead, what we saw was Boom coming in with Scam and Tim's early on with a Pangolier. They just rotate mid, block off Carl, force him to TP home, force him to walk back to lane. And that's just put such a massive dent on the Kunkka. Look at Carl's net worth, Mike. 1.9k. 1.9k. Only 500 gold above a support on the Bane.
Like that, John. Why you gotta do Carl like that?
It's a tough game for him. He's just had so much resources committed to him from Boom that I'm surprised T1 didn't think of relieving that lane of it. Didn't think of having a Snapfire rotate in with Kunkka. That's a very scary rotation. X into Cookie is just so deadly, and they just never got it.
I love our observers and production team. I love what they're trying to find across the map. I mean, obviously Carl's having a hard time in this game with a face like that, John. Look at that. Not the prettiest one I've ever seen on that Kunkka. Very, very nice. Thank you, production, giving us something to talk about while we do have this pause ongoing. I do agree with you, John. I mean, 1.9k net worth as a mid Kunkka, still level 6 compared to the almost level 8 Yopaj. It's pretty damn problematic. It does feel like, again, the pressure is going to be on Cuckoo and the two supports to really start to get that pressure going. Scabby and Carl, both known for being a little bit greedy, they're going to need that space.
Yeah, I think at the least here for T1, you're going to need to get Zephyrus levels up. You want the kisses. You want to play with Roar kisses, find the kills, get a push. And that's how T1 gets some early aggression going their way. They already have lost their bot tier 1. The push coming out from Timbersaw's not the fastest, but he has a massive creep wave, and he's just tanking up. Vanguard already up for FBZ, sub 10 minutes. So he's a hard one to kill off, even with the physical output of, say, a TA. And this is the point where Timbersaw just feels unkillable. He's just going to play between tier 2, tier 3, keep tier 2 pressured, force a response out. Good Fortify as well to protect that creep wave. It actually forces out the boat from Carl. Just to clear out those creeps.
He's got to do something. And John, this is not something you want as T1. Like FBZ, he has not been forced to rotate top to defend the top T1 yet. He might have to go now as Zephyr has begun and Cuckoo is there. And, well, there's the TP in from FBZ. He'll just sit here and respond to that now. And I think Carl gave the call over. Like, listen, I don't want to throw boat onto a creep wave like that again. Please force this guy to go top. I can't deal with the Timber right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good amount of farm coming up to Carl, at the least. You know, he's at 2.6 now, so a good injection from the 1.9 we saw from last time. But look at the position of Boom. They're in that jungle. They've got a good forward ward. Sentries are dropped. Whitemon does have the obs, but he could be punished for moving up here.
Yeah, they're watching him very carefully. Whitemon, he does have help, though. Could be a decent fight here for T1 if they choose to take it as Tim's. Going to be slowed up, but does swash away. Still, the Ignite slow is quite high. Fire Blast will be there. Now, Carl, he misses the Torrent. Well, there's no excuse for that one, John. I don't know how you missed that. Maybe the Fire Blast was just a bit too early and Carl was trying to predict the movement of Tim's.
Yeah, I think it looked like a prediction. Or maybe it's just one of those things where the vertical hitbox, the perspective casting onto the low ground on the ramp is pretty hard. It does happen sometimes. They are making a play on Jackie here.
He does have Battle Trance, but this will be a massive kill for T1 if they can get it, and they'll pop the Mortimer's Kisses. Battle Trance has been expended, and now the rest of the team are making their way over, but Jackie is already so low, and they just want the one damn kill. Jackie, he will go down to the Scatter Blast, but now the Sonic Wave out, Yopaj, he's going to get Zephyr, and it looks like they've got Whitemon. So it's still a decent trade, as long as Carl gets himself out of there. I think T1 will probably be satisfied with that.
Yeah, you'll take it. You kill off the pause one. You're getting some gold in onto Carl. You have to consider what happens across the map, though. They've left FBZ once again. He pushes in the top tier 1, and he's just applying pressure. The Beastmaster's actually not pushing, Mike. You called it out earlier, but this Timbersaw can just clear out those dominated creeps, clear out the boars, and Cuckoo's actually just forced to be the one defensive. It's not the Timbersaw being defensive. It's the Beastmaster having to hold his towers alive here.
It is. T1 just kind of riding out the storm as it is, but I don't think the storm's even really started yet. In Boom Esports, they've been grouping up a little bit, but not crazy amounts yet. How's Gabby farming? Not too badly, just ahead of Jackie right now, so it's good news for T1. Once you have that Desolator up, Gabby can start to get involved and Well, especially once you have the Blink BKB up, then you're certainly getting involved. The Skem can be spotted here by Whitemon, but they'd love to go onto Yopaj. Problem is, he's going to be perfectly fine with the support there of the Bane. So instead, they'll turn back in onto Whitemon. See if they can burst him down. Yopaj, a very aggressive blink in. Cook is way off the mark, but they roar him up. They just want the Quap dead. And it looks like this might be the first death for Yopaj, and they get him. Gabby will take the kill. And that's what you wanted to see there from T1.
Yeah, they get the kill. They commit a lot of resources for that, but it's worthwhile. Yopaj's first death in the series comes out here in Game 3. So he doesn't have a perfect series. That would have probably been a record in a best of 5, never dying. So Yopaj ruins himself. T1 does manage to get that work done, and it will pay off. But, boom, just smoke up. They do have a roll and grip ready on Tims and Skem, so they could actually look to make a play here onto Gabby if he's not careful.
Yeah, Fiend's grip is up. Skem trying to ignore Zephyr, but I believe Zephyr did spot him out there. Still ward being dropped to give the vision. They'll have to go for the Snapfire though, as Skem still going to have a look around for Gabby, but in the end will not be able to find as Yopaj not playing around, does throw out the Sonic Wave. Just at least for Zephyr though, you allow Gabby to get out, and that's still going to be a decent feeling here for T1.
Yeah, you find a support kill, you're giving Yopaj something for his death while go. And you're clumping up as 4 now on the side of Boom. You're playing top. You're giving Jackie space to farm. His Maelstrom's almost done, so he can start to keep up with Gabby's pace as TA's still farming naturally a bit faster here. And you might be at the point where you could think about Roshan once you have, say, the Maelstrom. So they could kind of set up for that. I think the state of the map is still pretty bad for T1. They haven't been able to take a tier 1 tower at all, and they've got a Beastmaster. Like, that push you expect with that hero is just not coming out. FBZ's done a good job of protecting every single tier 1 by rotating to where Kuhu's at. So I think we need to see T1 somehow take a fight and then take an objective, open up the map more, start being aggressive with your 4 heroes, because they are starting to get pretty strong. BKB is still a way off here for Carl. That might be holding them back. Boom, though, will go for a smoke play.
That they will. 4-man smoke up as FBZ on the front line. Gotta be careful not to pop that smoke underneath that Hawk. Still, Zephyr is gonna break the smoke of FBZ, and immediately T1 don't seem to want a bar of it. Though they have smoked up on their own end of things, so T1 might be able to try and initiate in a way that they want to. They're gonna find Skem. Carl, he's gonna land the X. Won't throw out the Torrent though, instead Nightmare will be there, though Skem does get stunned up, but again it's a very weird team fight from T1 thus far, as they haven't really fully committed. And Boom Esports, they will fully commit if they want to. And that they do, they start to move in, not really finding the target yet as FBZ, he's going to be targeted here by T1. A lot of HP being removed right now, but Nightmare is there from Skem to try and save his FBZ. He is still alive. Tims, meanwhile, will come in now with the Rolling Thunder. It's going to be a nice stun out as Jackie does move in with that Battle Trance onto Cuckoo. They've got rid of Whitemon, and now the Sonic Wave out Chapoy. He lands on absolutely everybody as they even find Gabby. And FBZ, he eventually goes down, but it took so long to get that done. And in the time that it did, Tims, he got a great Rolling Thunder out, and it just managed to turn everything around for Boom.
Yeah, and we talked about this timing, Mike. Jackie has Maelstrom after that fight straight into the Roche. No roar, no boat, no kisses for T1 to contest with. So it's going to be a very straightforward Roshan for Boom. And you just see how much it takes from T1 to force the fight out. They have to throw everything they have. And that's a turn Brassard without any sort of magical defense. You know, there's no Hood of Defiance out. And there's nothing to protect from magical damage. They have to use all of it, and it still takes a while to burst him down. Boom will temper themselves back. They're not going to force the Roche issue too hard. Respawns are short. But that does give Boom a nice lead. 4k up now. They can just get back to building up in Jackie. They've slowed down Gabby once more. He's lagged behind now, behind even FBZ. So you need more time for that TA to start building up here, Mike. Desolator's still coming out. Blink's gonna be there. You really need a BKB, and even with a BKB, Boom still has the grip. So it's still a bit risky for Gabby to come up front if they can't find the Bane. I think Skem's gonna have to really put in the work to find that proper position in these fights to go against that spell immunity.
Carl, X out into the boat, but the Yule Scepter gonna keep Chapoy alive, so instead they'll have to try and just slow down FBZ from rushing forward, and they found Zephyr on that Snapfire, and there you go, there's a Snapfire gone. Boom Esports not losing anybody here as they seem to want to move up top lane. Maybe even go mid. Carl, he's showing up again at FBC. He's just so confident moving into that conqueror, and they just blow him up. He has no HP right now, as Whitemon will be the third to go. It seems like a very, very similar story, Jonathan, from the last 2 games, as Boom are not slowing down anytime soon.
No, they're just on the aggressive, and this time around, this should enable them to take that rush. They find 2 nice kills. For T1, this is not the worst situation to be in. They've got Kisses, they've got Roar, they've got Boat on the respawn. Well, a bit delayed, but this is a fast Roshan. I think if T1 wants to contest, they have to run up now and get the Kisses off, and they're going to be rushing up with that smoke.
Gonna try. Roshan's already pretty much gone, though. They're not gonna be able to make it in time. The Roshan does bash Jackie once, but in the end, they won't be able to move their way in. T1 backs against the wall once again. Still just trying to buy more time for Gabby to secure that farm up on the TA, but Boom, they just don't seem like they want to slow down yet. FBZ again moving in to T1. Smoke up here for Yopaj and Skem to boot, so they're going to wrap around and maybe even find out Gabby, though. A nice scan from T1 does actually scout out this smoke, so perhaps not going to really work out. Instead, though, they can always head mid, where T1 are grouped up by that T2 tower. Skem will break his smoke, so he knows exactly where they are. Keep in mind, they have that Helm of the Overlord now. They might feel a bit more confident here on the side of T1 to try and fight back. And they do have a smoke on Whitemon, but they aren't really choosing to pop it yet. Just not confident that they aren't being watched at the moment, as the Tims is going to move in, and Fire Blast will be there. Tims, though, going to swashbuckle right away. The Ignite is ticking him down. Skem is just going to nightmare him up, and he might actually live through it as Tims goes for the TP out, and he's not going to make it. He'll die in the fountain. Meanwhile, FBC being stunned up, but he's a bit too tanky right now. They're not going to be able to deal with him. So they get something for their trouble. They got Tims in the Pango. I mean, it's better than nothing right now for T1.
It's something. Not the biggest kill, but you'll take what you can get. You're also buying some space out for Gabby to just play up top. So your TA is getting some good farm. Number 2 network has managed to catch up quite nicely, but Jack Boys isn't too far behind. So you're not playing with an item advantage on that flash farmer, and I think that is a cause of concern. Boom can just start grouping around bot now. They've got this really tanky Timbersaw to tank through the tower, and Jackie's attack speed is pretty up there. Damage is pretty good with the Maelstrom. They will go for the defense here on T1, though.
They have to try. Boat Torrent is out onto Jackie, but do they have that burst damage to really get rid of him? He does have the Aegis anyway, so he's going to wait out the first life. Nice start for T1. See if they can follow up as FBZ will move in, and now Jackie gets roared up. But where's your follow-up? Gabby's going to try and rush in with the Scatter Blast, the meld, and the cookie. They've got Jackie. He did not press that ulti button, and Boom Esports need to rush the hell away as Skem now will be chased down. They'll have plenty of vision with that Fade Grenade. Tim's unable to stick around to help. T1 able to successfully find a double kill and protect that bottom T2 tower, and this could be the turning point for the Radiant.
That's a big kill. Pulling down that Troll Warlord with the Aegis, opening up this mid push that can go really fast with the Beastmaster and the TA Deso. Boom just kind of messed up there. No ult usage on Jackie meant there was no opportunity to fight back, giving them that 6.5 second to respond, and that puts T1 back on the map. Not completely, they're still on a deficit, but not a big one. I think Boom's got to be a bit careful, as there are moments where they start to lose power. With the BKBs coming out, FBZ's not going to be doing too much damage up front anymore, and even Yopaj's damage kind of disappears with those BKBs, which are forming up. You got a BKB up on Carl already done. Seems that 100 ping is coming out for Carl. 100 ping, not the worst, but you know, I suppose at this level you'd look for better, Mike.
I mean, it's a grand final of a regional finals, John. I don't think he wants the ping if he can avoid it. So we'll see how long it does take for Carl to rectify that issue. 100 ping does make a big difference, John. As a person who does play in the Southeast Asian server from Australia, it's not very fun to play on that ping. We ride through it as Carl hopefully has resolved the issue. Reconnection's there at the very least, but we'll find out soon. So, nice little picture there of Skem with the cheese up. I don't know what that taunt is meant to be. As a Bane player, John, I never understood why we got the whole block of cheese thing going on, but there you go. That's the Bane taunt.
Yeah, it's something. I know what it's in reference to as well, but it's a fun taunt. Don't you enjoy it? Don't you love your taunts?
Oh, here we
Lovely
go.
camera work.
Motion
Giving-
sickness
There
central.
we
Here we
go.
go.
Upside down goes the Bane. No, this is just the Australia cam wipe. What do you mean?
It's
Living
certainly is,
upside
John.
down. We're in Australia now. Dota 2 Australia edition.
Thank you for that, John. So it looks like we are still having some little issues here with Carl. So we'll wait it out. We'll see what else. The cameraman can find, if anything. That is. Still, the state of the game, John. 7-13, 2K net worth advantage for Boom, but T1 have showed signs of life here, and I did happen to notice Boom Esports has tweeted on Twitter, which is probably going to jinx Boom Esports now, as it has been for the last time around. But T1, I mean, they are showing signs of life, which is definitely a great sign.
Yeah, I mean they're finding openings. They're punishing Jackie for overextending and not having a BKB up yet. I think that's just key for T1. As this game goes on, the damage output of Gabby is going to skyrocket. That is a TA. You give it farm, it is going to get big. I think there are ways for Boom to manage that. The big one would be, say, a Heaven's Halberd down the line, but we're a ways off from seeing that build up on anyone. So I think you will still have to kind of contend with that TA's damage. And I think this lack of maybe a pipe on FBZ is hurting them up against the Kisses, up against the Ignites. They've been able to melt down these cores without any sort of magical protection. That is something that Boom's going to need to rectify somehow. I mean, the BKB is going to be coming out for Jack Boys, so he will have spell immunity at the least. But I think FBZ has just seemed a lot less tanky when all of those spells are committed to him. Like, he only has a Vanguard, so he's really just blocking off Kunkka right clicks and TA right clicks, but the Kisses, the Ogre damage, the spells from Kunkka are all still really effective. And I think that's where Boom is kind of facing some issues, because once they do get committed and they get caught out by those spells, they kind of just melt. And T1 still has a lot of that burst to play with, so maybe respect some of that output here. Take your time. A lovely little frog critter there on our camera right now. You can absolutely count the meshes on that model right there. Very nice. Nice little copy paste there as well from
What
Cuckoo.
is that, Cuckoo?
I have no clue what he means by self-care. Maybe this is a reminder to drink water? I have no clue. What is that?
Do I want to know? I mean, I'm sure someone in the chat's going to know what Cuckoo's saying. I feel like if it's Cuckoo, you'd rather just not know while you're live on stream. So we'll find out. We'll ask Cuckoo later. We'll find out what the master has in store here with this self-care. We'll see if he's selling some new skincare products or something like that. By the way, John, shout out to the person who has corrected us on Twitter. He did tweet at me saying that Ogre is actually an int hero, not a strength hero, so he's not that affected by Timbersaw. And I was wondering, John, why you didn't correct me on that during the panel.
I mean, he still has like a strength gain of 3.3. I think we just shift and think of that. You know, that's pretty much it. It's still pretty painful, I guess, but it's not as bad. And we're still fixing up the VPN, so we're gonna be stuck for a bit of a longer pause here, Mike. He's still doing the copy paste self care. What is that, Cuckoo? What do you mean self care? I mean, yesterday we saw this guy chomping away on Skyflakes. You know, and he he offered me, Mike. Yeah, you know, like crackers. It's like crackers here in the Philippines. And I tweeted at him. He offered to buy me a month's supply. So now Cuckoo's been promising. He's been promising that we'd go to Okada. Remember that? Eat around there, have a good buffet. And now he's saying he's gonna get a month's supply of Skyflakes. I'm not expecting it, but I appreciate the sentiment from Master Cuckoo.
Why is it every pro player out there is inviting John X Fire to dinner all the time? And speaking of the devil, there he is, Master Cuckoo. And shout out to Cuckoo with his, I believe, $500,000 Filipino pesos PC. Yeah, it's pesos, ladies and gentlemen. It's not USD. Relax, it is pesos, but 500K, Jonathan, on the PC looks very nice.
Yeah, it does look lovely, and we also saw his lovely. I believe that was his lovely wife there as well. So having a good time. The alt chat right now that you can't see it's getting a bit weird. Gabby was asking for pause time. Skem says Tim's doesn't want to, so he's blaming Tim's. And Gabby's like, if it's a no, he's gonna spread a video around. And Skem's just laughing at it. Gabby is saying, what the fuck? WTF, this Tim's? And Tim's is just like, go, go. I think the reconnects are there. Take it. Oh, take it. Tim says, this Skem is just blaming. All right. All right. The back and forth there. As you know, I don't think we've raised this aspect too much. There is history behind Tim's and Gabby, former TNC teammates. Never really highlighted that, but there's that brothership there. And I don't know, like I've heard rumors that they don't get along in pubs, but it looks like it's all fine here. So I guess people just, love to be like Marites, Mike, spreading rumors around. Then again, Mr. Gabby is known as Marites, a very gossip-friendly person. So I guess it's just one of those things.
I really like this frog courier, by the way. Production keeps throwing us back to it. It's just meditating right now, John. It's having a very peaceful time. I mean, generally speaking, you don't want to meditate in a waterfall of lava, I'd say, but he's doing all right. There's a little baby Roshan as well. That's an owl, I believe. Very nice. In somewhat of a punk costume of some sort.
Yeah, that it is. It's got a little, I don't know what you call it on top of it. At its back.
A monocle,
is that just
John.
a cat? No, on its back. No, the actual courier model has like a cat at the back. If our camera
we can't
switch the view.
Well, Neff's on camera, isn't he? There we go. Thank you, Neff.
There you go. It's adorable, isn't it?
Beautiful cat. There you go. Look at that. That is actually quite adorable. Even though I do dislike cats myself, John. But I do like to cat jam.
Cats?
Well, I'm a dog person.
Wait, you actually dislike... No, but you could be a dog person and still appreciate cats. You actually dislike cats. So you're telling me you actively do not like cats. Like if a friendly cat went up to you, you wouldn't pet it.
No, I would pet a friendly cat. I don't like those cats that seem to think that... Oh, stop it. See, now they're making me feel bad, John. Stop it. How can I say no to that face? Look at that. That is adorable. I'll give you that. But see, the thing is with cats, don't they think they're like the master or whatever? Like they want to be the boss. And I don't like that, John, because I'm married, so I already cop a lot from my wife. I don't need a cat as well to be giving me crap all the time.
You're saying that, but Neff's got a couple of good cats. He's a cat guy. So you're saying this while he's doing the cameras? Oh, you're going to have a good time there, Mike. I'm sure Neff is going to show his displeasure with that by just staying on this courier. Every single time we'll cut to his cam, it'll just stay there. You can see that. Oh, yeah.
We do have 1 minute of pause time left. Thank you to our number one admin, Dougie, as Carl has given the go-ahead. We do finally get back into game number 3 and not have to look at these cats anymore, which is a very, very good feeling. So we get back into it. 7-13, 2K net worth advantage. T1, they just won a team fight, John. They may have finally found some footing here, and I'm expecting good things here from here on out for T1.
Yeah, they can push very fast now with the Desolator up. They've got mobility on Gabby with a blink. So I think they're very well protected. They've got angles, and they're going to go for a really aggressive smoke on that top jungle, looking for the wrap. Lines drawn across the river. Could catch someone out. Yopaj would be the big one, but Skem is around to kind of help him. They back off right in time. So let's see who they really find here. Kind of blind movement out here from T1.
Yeah, they might go on to Skem and Gabby. Oh, that's a very nice blink in. Nightmare is going to delay somewhat, but Gabby eventually going to find the kill. And well, this is that point. They've hit that timing on Gabby. Yeah, he doesn't have the BKB, but it doesn't seem to matter. He can get aggressive now, and we'll see how much they keep it up. But it seems like Gabby might just, take that kill, go back, triangle, just farm up the BKB now. And once you've got the BKB, you just feel a hell of a lot safer.
Yeah, it just feels like you're going to be able to do a lot more up front. And you do have it a lot faster here for Jackie, but not too far off for Gabby. So in core-to-core matchup, still going to line up. Gabby does have a 1k lead on Jackie now. Yopaj still number 1, but that is a quap. I think you want to shift the farm now onto the troll as much as possible. Yopaj is pretty hard to pin down. Plate mail up along with Kai Sanj. So he does have some durability. Good armor to counteract that Deso. I think right now it's on knife's edge. If someone finds an opening, it could blow up the game. Like if Boom finds a kill, they could just push a tier 2, threaten high ground, set up for next Roche. And T1 won't want that. At the same time, if T1 finds that kill, Mike, they could do the same thing. Take a tier 2, pressure high ground, set up for next Roshan, capture outpost. And I think that will lead to both sides kind of taking their time. They don't want to overcommit. They notice, especially for T1, they know a lot is on the line. They've got to find a win. They can't afford to bleed out any further here.
Certainly not. Boom Esports, they are grouped up in that mid lane, but doesn't seem like they're looking to pop a smoke or anything. Just following around Jackie on that troll and making sure that Jackie does not get picked off. Because Jackie has fallen behind a little bit in farm, and that's something we're not used to seeing from the man. He's currently about 2.5k behind Gabby, so definitely not a great feeling for him. He's working on towards that Ive Scardy, but it's a bit of tough times here for Boom Esports, at least for now. The BKB is up, and there's going to be immediate smoke here from T1. They want to get that surprise reveal. They saw FBZ, but they're not going to be able to catch him in time. Instead, though, they can loop around the long way and just try to run through the river, but there's going to be a counter smoke. Yopaj is there to try and secure a powder rune and does get a double damage. It could be scary timing now with that DD room up on the quad. Is FBZ going to just charge right in with the chains out, and now they're rolling thunder to follow up, but where is it? There it is, right in onto the Beastmaster. They want Cuckoo dead first, but the boat is going to fly in to try and protect. They've got Tim Shorley as he cannot roll away, and Cuckoo, he tries to TP out, but they get the kill in time, and now they're onto Carl. They want that Kunkka dead, but it looks like they're going to have to leave him be. At least for now, they turn back in onto Whitemon instead, and it's going to be a 2-for-1 trade in the favor of Boom. They only find the position for Pangolier. Not a great feeling for the BKB reveal of T1.
Yeah, not best use for that for Gabby. Much more impactful coming out from Jackie. Do love what Cuckoo's doing here. He is microwing the Granite creep, so there's no mid lane to push. So Boom can't transition to an objective, and that's holding them back. They will go on the hunt, though.
Well, Gabby was there. Yopaj may have gone a bit too far, but can delay with the Yule Scepter and eventually just blink and TP his way out. Gabby was still searching around, but is unable to find him. So Boom, go back off as well. Of course, that next big objective for either side is going to be that Roshan pit. It's about time you start going around that Roshan pit and just holding the area. You already see Boom doing exactly that. As T1, they are still a little bit split up, but the TPs are starting to come in slowly for that mid lane. I think especially for Boom, with the way Gabby's farmed up on this TA, you certainly don't want to allow T1 to be able to secure that Aegis if you can avoid it. Could be very detrimental here for Boom Esports if they do.
Yep. Still 2 minutes until that next Roche, so plenty of time for both sides to kind of set up, get some vision out. T1 still clumping around as a team, trying to get control of their bot jungle, but they are at least cutting off the split push coming out from FBZ. He's been forced to clump up. They might fight around this rune, though.
Tim's gonna get X'd up into the torrent and the boat with the Mortimer's Kisses. They just throw everything with the kitchen sink at Tim's to make sure he does die. And now they really want Skem on that Bane. They'll rush for him. The Nightmare gonna buy a bit of time for Skem. He might be able to walk away, but no, he will eventually burn out. Instead, Whitemon, though, does drop as FBZ tries to find another target for his team to jump, and the buyback will be there. Tim's, he needs to rejoin this team fight as they roll right through Jackie's BKB, and they're getting through the HP pool. They have Battle Trance available if they need it, and now Tim's, a big rolling thunder through too. Cuckoo's gonna drop. Zephyr's blinked out of there, and so has Gabby. And they do not want this team fight any longer, as Yopaj is still gonna have a look around for more. Gabby will remain melded on that dire triangle, and it does seem as though he'll get away with it. Maybe he goes back in. They see him. Instead, they'll hang around the triangle, and boom, they'll go to the other side of the map.
And Gabby just stayed around for the stacks. He's going to be clearing them out. So they know where the TA is at. Roche still 40 seconds away. That is going to give time for T1 to actually respond. And Boom don't get much off the back of those kills. Instead, Gabby's just building up his net worth. #1 now with that sneaky little play. And Boom find out the hard way that Gabby was still hanging there. Good use of the wards they've got here on T1. And T1, despite taking that loss, dragged the net worth lead back their way. It's only a 1k advantage for Boom now, so it's been growing smaller and smaller. It's all off the back of Gabby finding that build-up. He's going towards the Daedalus next. His right-click damage is going to skyrocket. FBZ does have the Heaven's Halberd. She still has to be cautious up front, but so far, I think the lack of instant burn for refraction is costing Boom here. They just have not been able to pin down Gabby with the long duration BKBs. As the fights go on though, once that's down to 6 seconds, that shouldn't be as big of an issue for Boom.
Well, Roshan up now, FBZ able to scout it out immediately as we do have T1 in their triangle. They are in position to fight this next Roshan. With the Beastmaster, you've got so many ways of scouting out the pit and just having vision over it all the time. Boom will just hold the area around to boot. It's going to be a line drawn out. They want to go for the smoke and the big wraparound. Try to get into that Radiant Triangle and just surprise T1. Hawk's not going to be able to see through this smoke, so it could be quite detrimental for T1 if they do get caught with their pants down. But they smoke up themselves now, and they're going to do a very similar tactic. So Boom, they'll be in the Radiant Triangle. T1, they run the opposite way, and now FBZ is almost just trying to bait them in with this Timber. They are not going to take the bait, however. Still just trying to retake that Radiant Triangle, but now they're going to run right into each other. Whitemon, he might be targeted first as he does back off. Tims, pump faking the Rolling Thunder, but it hasn't really committed it yet. FBZ still sticking around in a rather aggressive position, but nobody's going to make the jump in. Nobody confident enough to try and burst down the Timber, and neither side will really commit to an engagement. But I think you might just want to start Roshan now.
They're in. Kisses are available along with a Bullet and Roar, so this could be a bit messy for Boom if they don't find a pick off first.
Whitemon still being very annoying from that high ground. The Yopaj now going to try and dump in and deal with this Ogre. Meanwhile, Gabby looking for a way into this team fight himself. Whitemon dropping very low though. The Sonic Wave will get rid of him as now. Tims with the Rolling Thunder again. He's going to land on Cuckoo, and now the Fiend Grip. It's caught out Gabby. Scam with the tip immediately, knowing there was no way to cancel the Fiend Grip off. And Carl's forced the BKB and just run back towards the base. As Boom Esports, they will stick around the tier 2. In fact, they want to dive tier 3 towers. But can they really dive Carl? I don't think so. He does have that Ags up. He does have the Torrent Storm. They will go back for the mid tier 2 instead. And probably the Roshan after that.
And that's just great. I think Yopaj managed to use that Arcane Rune really well on his Queen of Pain, just constantly blinking forward, knowing that if you take out the Ogre, you take out the Beastmaster with Tims, there's no stopping the grip. They already commit the early Torrent to cut off that gank, and now Roshan's completely open for the side of Boom. T1 still have the Kisses, still have the Roar. The respawns weren't that long, but they're not in position to contest. They did have vision over the Roche though, so they know it's happening, but they have to surrender it.
Aegis Shards to go the way of Jackie. See if he does keep the shards, though. No, it looks like he wants to give it over to the Yopaj. The Sonic Boom just very, very handy to have with that blink up. T1 backs against the wall once again. They've been in this position multiple times this series. Definitely not too far behind. Just a 7k net worth advantage for Boom. But Boom is starting to knock onto that tier 2 top tower. Perhaps even high ground after that. T1 should be prepared to try and fight, especially with that Torrent Storm up on Carl. But things haven't been too smooth as of late. FBZ will chain in. They'll Fire Blast him up and lock him down with the Mortimer's Kisses and the Roar, but Yopaj, he'll jump in and try to stop all this from happening. Still, FBZ has gone. And maybe now you can force the defense, really, as Boom Esports cannot fight without him. Tims just going to roll away. T1 might feel the need to keep pushing, but now Tims, he'll turn around again. Yopaj with a Sonic Wave out onto 4 heroes. But can they really fight? Whitemon's gone, and now the Fiend's Grip again. It's caught Carl, and there's no cancelling. What a Rolling Thunder out from Tims. And that's something you just don't really expect to happen, John. The good old U-turn there from our Pango, it ends up paying off.
And that's going to force a couple of buybacks here for the defense. They still have Gabby. He still has damage. No grip to pin him down, so he knows he can actually get a good defense off. And that's going to hold back Boom. But again, forcing one buyback out isn't too bad. Age is still up for Jackie. Still fairly well protected, but they can't commit. So I think overall, T1's still kind of happy with how that goes. They don't lose their high ground, even though they lose their Kunkka. Boom can't transition to a push because they lack 2 heroes. So they're buying time here in T1. They're still getting some good farm out for Gabby. He really needs his full items up. He is going for the MKB instead, wanting to work through some of that evasion, get some right-click speed up to just try to burst down Jackie in the window he has with his BKB. And we'll see if that will make the impact. I think what we really need to see is Carl to be protected. He cannot afford to die. They need the Torrent Storm. They need that boat with a rum buff to stall out these fights and force Boom into a much longer engagement up against their TA. But Boom's target prioritization has been perfect. Like, they instantly just jump Carl if they see the opportunity, pin the Kunkka down, and even though it costs them lives, it gives Boom a massive opening there.
Scary times, Charlie. Yapaj now with a refresher orb up on that quap. That's a little scary. Double Sonic Wave, double Shivers, it's just all there. Gabby just trying to keep up here on this TA. Jackie just working towards that Satanic now, so just wants that extra survivability. So they head up top tier 1, top tier 3 again. Carl gonna try and delay this the best he can, and they've got great ways of doing it. Jackie though looks like he's gonna move his way up. He's got that secondary life with the Aegis. This time FBZ may not try to rush into the tier 3, as they were prepared last time around, though Mortimer's Kisses have been expended, and Jackie will lose that first life again. It's a good start here for T1. FBZ though pretending to chain in, as he does end up not really going in, but Yapaj has with the blink out. He does get the roar out. The Nightmare's going to save it. The boat flies in. Yapaj is gone. No buyback available for the Quap, and T1 can really fight this one out now, as they're going to try, but Carl, he's been focused down. Jackie trying to chase him out, but there's so much control on the troll that he cannot really just fight, and he is going to drop. A very rare mistake from our Queen of Pain, but Yapaj does go too far, and it does cost the side of Boom quite heavily.
That's a big win for T1. They can look for a bit of pressure on their own now, pushing in some of those tier 2s. No Roshan to play for. So not the biggest loss for Boom, but they definitely overstayed their welcome. I think that usage on the first life of Jackie was really not ideal. Like, he's just melting to the kisses. There's a lot of magic damage, a lot of control T1 has from a mile away with the Kunkka and Snap. And you have to respect that. Boom, you're going to have to find a way to just cut their losses here. Tier 2s are again open, but the Creep Wave's still a bit behind. Respawns aren't too long for Boom, so I don't expect a high ground to come out here for T1. They're just going to have to farm what they can, keep building up. Gabby's really hitting hard with that Daedalus up. He shifted once more, and he is going for the Swift Blink. So you're hitting that point where the TA is going to be pretty damn strong with the right clicks, and Boom's going to have to just be on point with the disarms. Lots of pressure on FBZ to get that Heaven's Halberd on Gabby every time.
Tier 2 mid gonna drop. T1 really starting to fight back now as they head towards that top tier 2 tower. Be another drop. T1 looking very confident now, as it's one of those things you can't really afford for the Quap to just die like that at the start of the team fight. You've seen Yapaj, he does queue up the Aeon Disc now just to ensure that he has that kind of second chance, even without the Aegis. Meanwhile, T1, a big smoke up right in towards double damage rune. That could be a very good start to this fight, as now Gabby certainly wants to try and force the fight. FBZ is going to be the one to break the smoke, but they saw Yapaj. He'll blink away. Meanwhile, Skem's going to be fine. Jackie, though, is going to get roared up through the BKB, and Whitemon jumps in. They really want that Bane. They've got Skem locked down. Meanwhile, Yapaj has jumped in. Cuckoo, he gets taken out right off the bat, and now Skem can just buy back into the team fight as Tims. He's going to drop to boot. Meanwhile, Zephyr, though, has also been chased down and locked down here on the Snapfire, so he should be another casualty of war, and he will be. At 2 for 2 so far. You do get that buyback committed from Skem, and he might be going right back to the graveyard as he dies back immediately to Gabby. Not great news for Boom. As T1 now get the better end of that trade.
And that is a very odd mistake from Skem. He just walks forward looking for a D-ward, does not respect the output or the presence of T1. It's going to be pinned down a lot longer than he'd like to. Still, Boom finding some decent trades. They find a core and a support, losing only their 2 supports and a buyback. So I think it's very even in terms of the exchange overall. I think the unfortunate thing for T1 was, with Gabby blinking in, he got immediately disarmed. Like, FBZ just immediately got the Heaven's Halberd off. That bought enough time for Boom to reposition, get an angle in the fight, and still come out with a trade. Whereas if they didn't get the disarm, with the double damage, Gabby could have just melted one of the supports straight up and just turned that into a very unfavorable fight for Boom. So quick fingers on FBZ to give that opportunity out to Boom. They hold on to a very small lead. 4K at 38 minutes in isn't that big anymore. It's not any substantial item coming out on any of your cores. And I think that's the worry now. You've got a TA who's just very big. The Swift Blink's not too far off. You're going to have the protection of Lincolns down the line here as well, Mike, with Gabby kind of saving up for that next. And with the Lincolns, that makes it doubly hard for Skem to actually get the grip off, especially if the BKB's running. So I think this game is going to get harder and harder for Boom towards the late game. They do have the Scotty up and running on Jackie, going straight into the Abyssal next. So the bashes are going to be the key thing to work against that BKB. But that's still a ways off. I think T1 with his second wind are actually in a really good position. If this rushes a quick respawn and they manage to win this fight, T1 could go to the high ground.
Carl does reveal where he is right now, and so does Cuckoo. And Boom certainly not looking to go for a fight at the moment, it seems, as these past few fights, they may not feel very confident. But maybe now with the Aeon Disc on your Page, getting that secondary life and that very low cooldown on that first level. Oh, but they might find him immediately. Whitemon, he's in with the Ignite. Can they lock him down? Aeon Disc already procs, so he's forced to blink away. In the meantime, they do come in from the backside. Boom Esports is still trying to find a way to force this fight. But Torrent is going to land on Carl, and it looks like T1 are happy to just kite out. FBZ though, chaining right in, trying to force the fight. It's not happening yet. Carl is still just kiting away from the side of Boom Esports as they chase him down. Who have they caught? It's going to be Zephyr on the Snapfire, but in the meantime, Skem has died, and Gabby, he's cleaning up. He's found Tim's to boot. They even do take down that Snapfire, but now they can work on towards FBZ, and the damage output, Gabby, he's just annihilating them right now. A big Sonic Wave and a double Sonic Wave out, however, but it doesn't seem to be enough as Jackie with the Battle Trance, he's going to try and fight by himself, but here comes the Torrent Storm, and here comes Gabby onto Yopaj. He's got the Queen of Pain down, and it seems like the Troll is all by himself. As FBZ though, he'll chain in with the chains out. He does get Carl on that Kunkka, but Jackie is still looking to die as Gabby's got a Rampage on the TA, and it might just be a double. FBZ's going to pop the Bloodstone. It's not going to be enough. A double Rampage out for Gabby. This might be the turning point here for T1, John. I mean, this game's looking great for him, and game 3, it could be a reverse sweep coming.
Could be. This could be the start of that momentum swing. Boom, just forcing that fight for so long. They can't afford these prolonged fights. That's where T1 shines, you know, with the boat out, with how durable they are. Yeah, you're
Gabby falling, and he does go down. He's going to buy back though as they get the Torrent Storm out. Jackie's being controlled up, and they've got the Troll Warlord. That has to be it. That has to be the GG call to come as T1 will just put the nail on the coffin here. Boom Esports, they've only got Tim's left, and that's it. He's got buyback, but there's no way to defend by himself, and the GG will be called. T1 are not going to tap out after 3 games. They will force it to